What's going on, everybody? Porpoise Pod here with you. It is Brendan Tobin alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Solana, what's going on, man? This is our first week having to follow a loss. I flew solo after that press fest that was the Cincinnati game. I apologize, by the way, to our audience for that episode. It was very sad. I was at an Irish pub, which was a good time. But, I had to do one of those things at a radio event where I'm just like, hey, we're giving away Dolphins tickets, everybody. And not everybody was as cheerful after Tua, got his head snapped into the ground again. And so he wasn't, and, it was a little bit of a damper. So my mood was a little bit sour after that one, but it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah. I'm glad to be back. It was, it sucked not being able to react to this. I heard the episode you did solo, and the show honestly sounded better without me.
No, that's not true.
No, but I just we're gonna get into it. Just a tough week.
Yeah, this is like it was worst case scenario. We're in this place where we talked a little bit about Tua's back injury, him being banged up going into that game, and the idea that maybe you should just sit him. But then you hear him talk, and you know how much he wants to stay out there. It's a big matchup between him and Joe Burrow, and then all of a sudden, the worst happens, and he gets slammed into the ground. I didn't think that he looked fantastic in that game to begin with, Solana. I don't know about what your read of that was, but to see that happen on national television was awful. And the Dolphins, everybody's very mad at them right now. It's still on. I was at the gym today on the elliptical. I look up Wolf Blitzer. He's talking Dolphins. Dolphins guy, see Tua's frozen body there on the field still on a news network, talking about how evil concussions are. And I feel terrible for him because, I feel terrible for him. I feel terrible for the Dolphins organization. I feel bad for everybody in this scenario because it's a violent sport. I think that nobody had bad intentions, but the worst case scenario happened. And you're going to deal with some ramifications from that.
Yeah. I mean, it does suck that McDaniel and the Dolphins organization itself, the Dolphins doctors, are being criminalized right now. Everybody's kind of reacting the same way that I think I understand, because not only was it worst case scenario where he hits his head and he's concussed, but Tobin, I didn't get to react the way most people did watching the game on Amazon, right? I'm up in the booth. It happened on the other side of me. I see Tua down there laying for 12 minutes. And obviously we're frightened. We're sad because nobody wants to see Tua, of all people, not because he's a starting quarterback, but because he really is such a good dude. And he's dealt with injuries, which I think, by the way, plays a major part of why he allowed himself to get rushed back despite the back injury.
Agreed.
But when I land at 5 a.m. after the game, and now I get to see the reaction, this vitriol reaction to the Miami Dolphins organization, to the NFL, to the doctors for letting him go back out there. And I see the video where his hands, kind of cramp up and he's in that position. I get it. I understand the optics of it. I understand people are kind of taken back by the brutality of this game. I understand people demand answers and they want somebody to blame. How could it be possible that after what looked to be a head injury against Buffalo, I want to be very specific there, how could they let him back out there on short rest to top all of that off, and be put in a position where this could happen? And, it sucks, but it's a reality of the game. Tobin, a lot of people don't realize this won't be the last time Tua Tagovailoa gets hit that way. And this won't be the last time he's injured. And this won't be the last time where he's taken down in an aggressive manner.
Of course.
It is football, and I'm not downplaying concussions. I'm not downplaying the severity of what can happen after repeated concussions. Like, I think all of those things are super serious. And Tua, the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, the doctors, the independent doctor from the NFL, neurologist who is no longer a member of the NFL. Yeah.
But even
I don't think any of those people downplay the severity of that either, right? Like, the NFL has has taken strides and truthfully has, compared to what they were 10 years ago, gone in the right direction to prevent these things. But you can't prevent head injuries in the NFL unless you don't play.
They do, yeah. Look, they do what they can. Like they wear those, what are those guardian hat things that they wear during training camp? Like, look,
Right.
it's definitely been something they've tried to suppress as much as possible, and as you can in a contact sport where people are flying all around. I mean, look, you got a roughing the passer penalty that same drive, wasn't it? Was it? I think it was either that same drive or the drive before where Tua
Right.
got a roughing the passer. So they try and take care of their quarterbacks. And yeah, to your point, I do think it plays a huge role. His durability, what's on the line for him this year. Remember, it was just a year ago where Tua was pissed because Brian Flores was sitting him over a finger injury. And he thought that he was good enough and healthy enough to go. And Brian Flores sat him. He eventually played in that game anyway. He got brought in for Jacoby Brissett in the Ravens game, which we talked about at length a couple of weeks ago. But I do think that probably played a thing. And look, this has been a very harmonious relationship with Mike McDaniel, who is a rookie head coach. And does he take blame in it? Was he complacent in it? Maybe I could say that I don't think he does it saying like, yes, Tua, you play. That's right, Tua. You go out there with your scrambled eggs brain because you're better than Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that happens. I think that Tua says he's good. The doctors say, hey, seems like he's okay. I think we avoid something here. He's dealing with a back injury. And look, by the way, it doesn't even seem like the Players Association knows because they came out and said, well, we're mad at even if it was a back injury, we're mad. Well, it's like, well, now you're kind of widening the net of
For sure.
what you're pissed off about. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be scared or shouldn't be concerned because what happened to Tua was very, very scary. And you never want to see that happen to a guy, especially a guy like Tua, who's very famous, adorable, all these types of things. And everybody's rooting for him in this fan base. It was the worst case. I say this, the worst case scenario as a Dolphin fan to see that happen to him on national television. But I really don't feel like the Dolphins were being sneaky here. Like, for example, like with the tampering thing, dude, the Dolphins were sneaky on that. They deserve to be punished. First round pick, a little bit strong, but they deserve to be embarrassed and punished for that because it was so blatant. Who gets busted for tampering? They deserve to be embarrassed for that. When your offensive line coach snorts a powdered substance and it gets videotape and the videotape gets released by a stripper, you deserve some embarrassment for that. I don't necessarily think they deserve shame for this because I don't know how many places this would have gone wrong, could have gone wrong. I think now everybody's going to be super extra careful because they don't want the Players Association being pissed at them. But I really don't feel like anybody had bad intentions here. And I think a big play of it was Tua wanted to play. He seemed fine. And what he typically does coming off of injury in that game against the Bills is looked upon in sports as heroic. You were tough. You went through it. You threw a game-winning touchdown drive. Like, all of this stuff is usually applauded. And yeah, it was very scary to see him stumble like that on the field. But, for if you would have thought Mike McDaniel thought coming off of that win, it was going to turn into what it was, I don't think in a million years you thought it could have been that bad. But, I think that's why everybody is pissed because the optics look bad and it ended in the worst way possible.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about this reaction to Sunday's injury where people are not even assuming, they're just jumping to the conclusion now because he had the head injury, because he reacted to that head injury the way he did. People are jumping to the conclusion. One, the Dolphins doctors and the independent neurologist from the NFL just kind of didn't follow protocols as they should have and let him out on the field in an irresponsible way, right? Like that's the first conclusion. And number two, a ton of people are just saying he had a concussion. There's no doubt in my mind. And Tobin, when you watch that replay, I don't think anybody will deny it looks like a head injury. It looks like
it does.
What's the cliche everybody's using? He got his door rang or
Bell
whatever.
rung.
He's got his bell rung. I'm terrible at those what do they call them?
Metaphors?
Those metaphors, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. But there's no doubt you watch that, the optics of it, for sure. For sure, you say to yourself, head injury. But I'm not going to sit down on my couch 3 days later, play the result, and say, that neurologist was wrong. He clearly had a concussion. The Dolphins doctors were negligent. He clearly had a concussion. These are trained medical professionals who follow the science, and they're all liable for what happens. You're
Yeah.
telling me that a group of doctors just said, hey, Tua, whatever they ask you, tell them it was a back injury. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Get back out there. Like, I'm sorry, man. I don't buy that. And I really, really don't like the reaction where everybody is just now saying that was a concussion. There's no doubt in my mind that was a concussion when there was an investigation into it. There were protocols the day it happened, the day after, the day after, the day after, 4 days after, and he cleared all those protocols. So what's
Right.
Mike McDaniel supposed to do? They
I,
tell him he's okay. Tua wants to go out there. He's saying he's ready to go, that it was a back injury. The doctors tell him it's a back injury. From the Dolphins organization, what are they supposed to do? Say, nah, it looked like a head injury, so we're going to sit him out? Well, then,
right.
like, what are you doing? Then what's the point of having the doctors anyways?
I do worry a little bit, not just because you don't have Tua out there, because, contrary to popular belief, the guy's actually very important for the Dolphins to win. But I do worry a little bit for a rookie coach like Mike McDaniel, who has had a bit of a honeymoon start to his career with the winning that's been going on, with him being charming, everybody kind of loving his press conferences. And I felt like when I heard him today, I felt like I heard somebody a little bit beaten down and stressed by all of this. Like, he's clearly a guy who cares a lot about Tua, was still very emotional about what had happened days later. And then even today, he did not seem like his normal lighthearted, jokey self, which is not a joking situation. But I do worry that in his first year as a head coach, that this could be just a situation that could just bog down on you. Like, I feel like this could be very, very stressful for him. And, obviously top priority is Tua's health, but also look, the Dolphins and their fan base still wants to go and win a game against the New York Jets, a big time rival that doesn't look like a joke, and just got their quarterback back in Zach Wilson. And I do worry that, with Mike McDaniel, he kind of feels like he's been riding easy breezy on everything. Things have kind of just run natural for him. And in a weird way that's not performance based, he's facing his first real adversity as a leader here. And I wonder how he's going to handle all of that, because it kind of feels, just based on a face read, if I'm doing an eyeball test, feels like it's stressing him out a lot, dude.
And it's so fair what you're saying there, Tobin. Think of this situation now moving forward. No matter when Tua gets cleared from concussion protocols, and we probably won't know until they just say one day, hey, Tua's cleared. Until the Dolphins just release it, we won't know. No matter when it is, whether it's after the Jets game, no matter if it's 3 months from now, going into the Dolphins Super Bowl run, right? Like, doesn't matter. I'm painting the two wildest scenarios. People will question him. The next time Tua gets his bell rung, people will question him. It'll come back every single time to whether or not the Miami Dolphins were negligent in handling this specific situation. And you don't want that cloud looming over you as an organization. You just said it. Nothing's more important than Tua's health. And I think Mike McDaniel feels that way. Truthfully, I do. Like, when he talks, we've talked about his authenticity. We've talked about the way he is just transparent and he's himself. And when you listen to him after the game, and when you listen to him throughout the week before the game, he was putting Tua's health before anything else. He truthfully
I didn't think he was going to play, dude. Well, when I heard him on Monday, the day after the game happened, they weren't mentioning head. They were talking ankle and back, but he was out. I don't think he was optimistic that Tua was going to play. And then he revealed in his next press conference that they had a conversation nearly at 11 o'clock at night, which I imagine was Tua probably pressing him to play. And I think, with knowing that his relationship was to be the anti-Brian Flores and be the guy who supports his quarterback, in a weird way, you have this star QB for the first time, maybe flexing his muscle and saying, no, Mike, I'm playing. And you're the rookie in that scenario. And yes, you have to be the leader, but Tua is the most famous part of this organization right now. Like it or love it, people can say whatever they want about the franchise. This is Tua's franchise right now. And Mike McDaniel's job hinges a lot on what his success is. And if the quarterback says he wants to play, I can see a place where Mike is pressured into putting him out there. And yeah, I do feel like there is a lot of regret from him because people can say play, but the results are what they are. And I do think he's shook up by what happened.
And it's hard not to be. And Tobin, you had brought it up, and I wanted to bring it up as well. And we talked about it right before the game, Wednesday, when we previewed the Thursday night football game. Why not? Again, this was just knowing that you had a back and ankle injury, right? We were totally disregarding a head injury because of what the doctors and because of what the NFL neurologist had said, that it wasn't a head injury. Yeah. Tua denied it being a head injury. Mike McDaniel was adamant that from what he was being told after all the protocols were met, wasn't a head injury. So you and I both discussed, why not just sit him, right? If his back is hurting him that much.
And I was just going off what they said. Right, I wasn't even like doing an investigation. I was going off of Mike McDaniel saying, he told me his back was like Gumby, and Tua saying it was very, very hard to throw the football. And I was just saying to myself, with this back injury, well, maybe don't play football in 2 days. I don't know. Maybe just, you guys are off to a 3-0 start. But I can see their side. I can see Tua's side of it where it's like, no, F that. I'm a competitor. Tua, like, as nice as he is, he wants to shake that of like, I still have an FU dog mentality, and I want to take on Joe Burro on national television in front of that snake Ryan Fitzpatrick who mocks me with his ukulele. By the way, get your own bit, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you bum. That's neither here nor there. The point is, he wants to go and shine on national television. And yeah, like I think that pressures a coach into one. If your star player wants to play, he's going to play.
After we recorded that episode, I spoke with Mike Cunio of CBS4, and I kind of brought up that question on the Hawk and Crowder show. I said, Mike, this guy's hurting. He said out of his own mouth, to throw, it hurts. To turn, to hand the ball off, it hurts. To run, he's in pain. Why not just sit him out for this game? Why are you going to possibly hurt him even more down the line where it could hurt you? And Cunio had such a great answer, which is something neither you and I said, which was the Dolphins have missed the playoffs by how many games the last 2 seasons? 1 game.
Yeah, it's
fair. 2020, missed it because you lost to Buffalo. You got blown out in Buffalo week, whatever that was, 17 or 18. Last season, you lose to Tennessee in Tennessee. You missed the playoffs by 1 game each of those seasons, both of Tua's seasons, first 2 seasons in the NFL. And now you're telling Tua, who already has that mark of durability issues, who has already been told he'll never be Joe Burrow and he'll never be Justin Herbert. You're telling him he has a chance on national TV to not only silence the critics against Joe Burrow, but prove that he doesn't have durability issues. And the Miami Dolphins, the last 2 seasons, have missed the playoffs because he was unavailable for a stretch of the season. I mean, you were literally crafting the perfect argument for why a warrior, literally, this guy is a warrior, doesn't want to play. I think we've also, because of Brian Flores, we've kind of have this image of Tua that he's like this soft, cuddly guy. And bro, this dude is a bleeping warrior. He really is. And it gets lost. It gets lost because of what we've seen from Tua, which was rib injury, finger injury, being held out. That's our image of Tua.
Coming into the league with a hip injury, coming into a league as looked upon as damaged goods.
Right. And it's not reflective of what the truth is, which is, and anybody who's paying attention knows this dude is a competitor. And it kind of sounds like, we're being, I don't know. I feel like it may sound like we're being homers, but it's the reality where, this isn't somebody who's going to sit there and say, hey, I'm cleared to go, but I'm not going to go. He's trying to prove to everybody and trying to live up to what everybody wants him to be down here. And it's easier said than done to say, yeah, I can't go. I'm going to sit this one out. Like, he wants to be out there with his team.
I just disagree with the idea that the Dolphins did anything evil. Like, like this Chris Nowinski, who I hated on Tough Enough, by the way, great wrestling heel. And it seems like he's doing work that matters. And I don't want to, poo-poo everything about brain work, because seriously, it is an important thing. We don't understand what's going on with these guys' brains, but I don't genuinely believe anybody in the Dolphins organization had Tua's, was neglectful of Tua's health.
Or
I
they had
think that,
malintent, right?
yeah,
Like
I don't
put him
think
out
anything.
there.
No, I don't think that
Right.
was the case. I think
Yeah.
that, should we be way more cautious about something like that? Yeah, perhaps. But this is a savage sport. It is. I mean, like, as much as we joke, you joke with Leroy back and forth. This is crazy. A man who I'm very good friends with and do a show with every day can't open a bottle of water because he has to get his thumbs worked on for all that he does. He has to hang upside down like a bat, because he played running back. I mean, you and I don't think can comprehend this, but I also think that these guys also have a code and they don't understand. They go about this in a different way. And I do think that, that desire to play and the relationship with the coach probably played a hand in it. And it really did blow up in their face in a bad way. But something that happened that was really unfortunate, I don't think should be looked upon as something that was done evil by the organization. We'll take a break here on the Porpoise Pod. We will shift gears a little bit on over because the Dolphins do have a game to look ahead to. Tyreek Hill, Mike Kaseki, all looking ahead to week 5 against the New York Jets. We'll play a little echolocation for you on the Porpoise Pod as we swim on after this. Porpoise Pod swimming on here. Tobin and Solana here. Thanks to everybody, by the way, who has got the Porpoise Pod. Download it, subscribe, all that stuff. And, we appreciate you guys following us here on this project as we endeavor into week 5 here. Let's get into a little echolocation because that is how porpoises, aka dolphins, communicate. And a busy day at the podium on Monday, Solana, as a lot of the stars speaking after having a long weekend. Some guys got to get away, after the Thursday Night Football. They call this the mini bye. And Tyreek Hill spoke to the media, who is leading the league in receiving, by the way. I don't, just for everybody who thought that he was going to suck down here, I just wanted to, mention leading the league in receiving. He was asked about the idea of having to go about it with Teddy Bridgewater this week. And let's just say Tyreek Hill, not worried about it.
Like, QB doesn't necessarily matter to your production. I think you said you put up numbers with Alex Smith, you put up numbers with...
I'll put up numbers with you. Come on.
Man, I mean, all right. Well, listen, I don't disagree. I think if, Marcelo Luis Jacques was out there and if you gave him a couple snaps, I think Tyreek Hill could probably bust one for 60.
Oh, for sure. I think you could bust one for 60 no matter who's throwing the ball. Throw a little fade to him and he's good to go. But I do love, Tobin, you had mentioned in the previous segment, there was a bit more of a somber mood when McDaniel spoke. And even at practice today, I was reading tweets, like there was a different energy, right? A different vibe from Dolphins practice, but Tyreek Hill delivers no matter what.
Look, he is, I think he is the energy of the Miami Dolphins. I think in a lot of ways, he is the mouthpiece for them. He brings a swagger to this organization that they have not had because he has credentials and accomplishments and has done things. And, I'm really glad that the Dolphins have him, quite frankly, because I do think that, one, he's delivered every which way. Two, I think people thought that he was going to be, a bit of a malcontent and, maybe a bit of a headache, especially with all the stuff that he had said about Kansas City and all that. But, for him, he's come in, he's delivered. He's looked fantastic. He's made big play after big play every single game. And, I think it's been a pretty good marriage. He did mention, though, Solana, a little bit more from Tyreek Hill, echolocating here. Remember, he's got a meeting this week with the New York Jets. There was a little bit of Jets rumblings about Tyreek Hill. Was he going to go there instead of the Dolphins? Remember when this whole Tyreek Hill trade, sweepstakes was going on for like a whole 3 hours? And this is Tyreek Hill on why he did not go to the Jets.
Oh, it was very close to happening, man. But it's just those state taxes, man. I realized, I had to make a grown-up decision. And, here I am in the great city of Miami. Great weather, great people. We're beautiful people, I feel like. So here I am.
Loving life, just doing his cheetah thing. And, Jets. Oof.
Come on. Didn't want to play with Joe Flacco and then the MILF hunter.
The old MILF hunter. And did you see, by the way, did you see the little kid in Pittsburgh who had the sign that says "My mom is hot"? Zach Wilson.
Incredible.
Great. That's great trash talk. You know, fantastic job by that. Kid's got a future.
What
I don't
about,
know in what.
You're right. Sign making, professional NFL sign maker. You saw the gritty that
I did
that
see
Zach
the gritty.
Wilson.
I did see the gritty. I feel like the white guys, they feel like they have. I think they feel like they have carte blanche now. In fact, Mike Kaseki talked about this today. He feels like he has opened the door for anybody to gritty. Some may argue that he has absolutely killed the gritty. Here's the Dolphins tight end.
Yeah, I did, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he kind of let loose out there, and yeah. Listen, depends on who's grading it. Also depends on what you're looking for. Like I really let loose out there, and I think that I opened the door for a lot of other people to kind of feel comfortable out there. So I'm happy that I could do that.
Practice has been happening.
What's that?
Practice has been happening on going back to the gritty in front of the mirror.
As I've thought about it, naturally, will it probably happen if I score again? Yeah, probably. But I don't know, man. A lot of people are doing it. I obviously piggybacked off a lot of other people, so would still like to be unique. When I did it, I thought it was absolutely hilarious, so that's why I did it. So
not for the
I don't know
reason.
if it'll still have the same effect the second time around.
Did you get any reviews from your wife on your dance?
Yeah, she was not proud. She told me not to embarrass her like that ever again. And so she's had me practicing about several times a day since then.
Well, that is a wife who cares. I mean, the idea that she wants him to get better at the gritty. I mean, I appreciate that from Mrs. Kaseki.
Yeah, that's wifey material right there, Tobin.
It is. I asked my wife after I heard this clip, I was like, what is the most embarrassed you have been by me? And non-drunk, obviously. Everybody has a drunk moment where they are not proud of. And she goes, gotta be honest with you, when he dressed like Macho Marlin's man at that fan fest a couple of years ago, me and your son were pretty embarrassed by that. I thought that was a fair one. I mean, me dressing like a baseball-loving cartoon character in front of my children, that's a fair thing to be embarrassed by.
Yeah, was that when you jumped into the Clevelander pool?
No.
The same day? Because I was embarrassed for you when you jumped into the Clevelander pool.
Really? I was actually proud of that one. That one I was like, oh, this is the top. I don't think the character could get better of this because security did not want me to do it. They were like, don't do it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And we had, I forget what the DJ's name was at the time, but he worked at 790 or was in the promotions department. Rest in peace, by the way, 790. Yeah. And so he's like, he's cool. And so I was allowed to do the big elbow off of the Clevelander pool. Disgusting pool, by the way. I mean, it was terrible. Just definitely full of disease and just sadness. And it's not there anymore. I don't know. Jeter tried to turn it into something not cool. And then they kind of made it something cool again this year, but I haven't been to enough Marlins games to know. I saw Gabby Sanchez out there one time in left field. It looked like he was having a good time.
Yeah, it's cool again. It is. It's recess or whatever, and you can just get hammered there. It's almost like being at a club, and then there's baseball, which isn't terrible when you're the Marlins, right? It works. I think people getting drunk, and then there's baseball. Sorta, if you want to turn your head to the right, there's baseball.
Man, that's something right there. A little bit more from Mike Kaseki, who has to catch passes from Teddy Bridgewater. You let me know, Solana, if this makes you sad or if you're just impressed by Mike Kaseki and his memory.
Played with Ryan Tannehill, Brock Osweiler, Josh Rosen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jacoby, Tua, add Teddy to the list, Skyler in the preseason, David Fales in the preseason my rookie year. I mean, I've caught Reed, Sinet. I've caught footballs from anybody and everybody. So you just got to go out and make a play on the ball when it comes to you.
I don't know whether to be impressed or sad.
Well, I'm very happy he didn't leave out Reed because that would have been awkward. They literally just signed him. Would have been very awkward. But that's a depressing list.
That's a depressing list, dude. That's a depressing list. I think Josh Rosen made me the saddest. I was like, oh, yeah. Remember when we thought Josh Rosen was going to be a thing?
Just traded a second for him. No big deal. No big deal.
Josh Rosen, man. Woo.
I am happy for Reed Sinnett, by the way, because he was up in Philly, and last year the Dolphins didn't do what they did with Skyler this year. Good for him. I mean, he'll be cut in a couple weeks, unfortunately, once Tua comes back.
Definitely.
But good for Reed. Come back, collect a quick check, throw a couple passes.
Yeah,
in the
Sinnett to win
squad.
it, dude.
Why
What's
not?
not to love? What's not to love? Now, look, I do want to get your thoughts on this. We'll hear from Mike McDaniel on them starting Teddy Bridgewater, which they are going to do. Tua was officially ruled out. I don't even think we've mentioned that so far on the pod. He is officially out for the Jets. No surprise there.
Good call, Tobin. Good call. By the way, like there was no way they were gonna let Tua Tagovailoa. It doesn't matter. He's cleared. They could get the top neurosurgeon in the history of the world. They could get a maester from Game of Thrones. Like, this dude, doesn't matter, was not going to play Sunday versus the Jets.
No, there was no shot that was going to happen. But Mike McDaniel obviously having a lot of faith. They spent a lot of money on Teddy Bridgewater, backup quarterback-wise in the price range. Miami guy, he gets his first start. I think I think I saw, what did I see? The 24th quarterback since Marino to start. I think that's the number they're at right now. But Mike McDaniel, lots of faith in an old Teddy B.
I can speak for the team, offense and defense and special teams. We're very, very confident in Teddy Bridgewater. It's one of the reasons you decide to go that direction in an off season and prioritize your backup quarterback as if is for these moments. And we went out and signed him, and it's been one of the better things that could have happened to us for the team's dynamic, for his contribution, how Tua's playing and his ability to play, as well as his part in the development of Skyler. So he's had a big role. Everyone's super confident in him. He's done it before. It's a different deal coming off the bench than starting. Teddy knows that, and he'll be fully prepared and ready to go. And I don't think the team will bat an eye when we lace him up on Sunday.
All right, Solana, as the number one Skylar Thompson fan, Teddy Bridgewater starting this weekend against the New York Jets. How do you feel about this?
I'm fine. I think Teddy played well versus the Bengals in the second half. I know everybody's upset about the interception, but up until that point, played good.
He was doing okay. Yeah, he was doing okay.
Certainly better than the two passes he threw versus Buffalo.
Oh my God, yeah, that was bad.
I'm the leader of the Skylar Thompson brigade. There's no doubt about it. But there's no logical scenario where you could bench Teddy for Skylar Thompson. And I don't think he'll have a short leash either. This is kind of his team right now.
I agree with that.
Just the way it's going to play out.
I mean, if he completely stinks up the joint, I feel like Skylar Thompson is like classic spark plug. We don't know anything about this guy. You leave the Jets scrambling a little bit. I don't think you would go into any week against these people being like, hey, this guy who you guys didn't hear of, the 7th round pick who lit it up in the preseason, we're going at you with him against the guy that we spent. What did they spend? $6 million on Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah,
like this is why this is why they bring him in. He's supposed to be capable. Nobody here wants this scenario because obviously we all love watching Tua play football, but it is the Jets. This is not one of the best teams in the league. They're a better Jets team. They don't seem like an absolute embarrassment, but I do feel like the Dolphins are still 3-point favorites going into this. And we know that defense is absolutely nasty. I would hope with the rest, they're a little bit more put together, especially Xavier Howard. They wouldn't reveal much on Bye-Bye Jones going into this so far, but maybe they'll get him back. So, I still feel like it's a winnable game even with no Tua.
It should be a winnable game. I mean, I don't even think the Jets are that bad, by the way, which pains me to say because nothing brings me more joy in sports than New York teams being bad.
Yeah.
But you should be able to handle Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. You should. You beat Buffalo, you beat Baltimore, you beat New England. All three of those teams are probably better than this Jets team. So even without Tua, you should be able to handle it. And like I said, he played well. Like he made some pretty good plays. He connected with Tyreek on like that 55-yard bomb or whatever it was down to the 4. You struggle to run the ball. I mean, Tobin, that's kind of going to loom over this Dolphins offense now that Tua's gone, because
Right.
as much as I think there is confidence in Teddy to be a game manager, don't make mistakes, he can get the ball to your playmakers. There's no doubt about it. As much as there's confidence there to a certain extent, not being able to run the ball at all, that is tough with a backup quarterback coming in.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, they went into this year, and this feels like something that has been a theme, is that they really haven't gone into, I can't remember the last year that the Dolphins have really gone into a season with a bona fide, proven running back. You know, Raheem Mostert is a nice player, super fast. Mike McDaniel and him are BFFs. They love each other. And Chase Edmonds, I think they kind of thought more opportunity. You know, we've definitely seen flashes from them. We've seen the moments. We've seen the explosion. But as like those guys who could really carry an offense when things aren't going great, they did not pick that up. And, you know, I do think that they're still all kind of coming together. This is still a new offense, but certainly it would be nice to know you would have something a little bit more reliable to lean back on this game. I don't know if that's quite the case. Hopefully, you know, Teddy is, you know, careful with the football and delivers it to your two speedsters. A little bit more healthy Jalen Waddle this time around. But, you know, we'll have plenty more time to get to that Jets game as more Porpoise Pods come this week. Until then, everybody, you know, have a great rest of your day. We appreciate you guys tuning in to another edition of the Porpoise Pod. Have a great whatever the hell the next episode is, everybody. Solana, it was great to see you again. Great to be reunited. Yeah, I really didn't know where to go with that one, to be honest with you. I was just kind of porping around, dude. Just porping around.
It's porp it.